Hello, Julie.
Hello, Carolyn.
Hi, everybody out there in Walpole Land and beyond. It's Tuesday, and this is the day when Julie and I videotape the Carolyn Show, where I review a book in depth and an oldie but goodie. So this week's choice. I'm at a loss how to describe this book.
Ooh, I didn't know what you were picking. I'm really anxious to hear about this one.
This one, All the Broken Places. It's a fascinating read. It starts out with this woman in her 90s living in London, and she switches from the modern time and back when she was growing up in Germany during World War II.
Ooh.
And before that, the Eve, when most of the German folk were fascinated with Hitler and willing to do just about anything.
Now, is she German or Jewish or both? Or
she's German.
German, okay, and not Jewish.
Not Jewish,
okay.
But she's German, and her father was quite prominent in the party. So, and she goes back and forth. So you have to really pay close attention to what she's talking about, because when she's a 12-year-old, her father gets appointed to one of the extermination camps. Yeah, and so she alludes to this in the beginning, but then she goes back and forth. I can't wait till I've only got a couple more chapters to read, but it's fascinating how she manages to go back and forth, but still stay in the present. I hope that's not difficult to absorb, but it's a fascinating read. And she begins her story where she is now located in Sydney, Australia. And and then she goes back and you kind of figure how she gets there. But it's deep. It's very deep.
Yeah. And
at first I was thinking, oh, she's an awful person, and then I thought, well, she was a 12-year-old child,
right?
Really,
right.
And she doesn't really come out and say what is happening, but I'm thinking that her father is a trusted Hitler person, and so he gets assigned to one of the extermination camps.
Now, does she go there also?
Yes, she does.
Ooh. And
she talks a lot about being on the other side of the fence, which I guess the family quarters were separate from the camp itself.
Right.
And there's a young boy involved, and it's I don't want to give out too much of it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I don't want to spoil it for myself. As you can see, I'm almost done. So it's a mean sitting bull. We're having a good time.
Oh, yes, you are.
But this is a very, very well written chronicle of the times.
From a unique perspective.
Yes, a very unique perspective of a 12-year-old girl
who is not Jewish. We've had, of course, Anne Frank.
Right.
Everyone knows, but we've had other ones where from a children's point of view, but they were Jewish. This is very interesting.
This is a completely different take on it.
Yeah.
And although she kind of hints that she was aware of what was going on, but not really. And of course, being a impressionable 12-year-old going on to 13. She falls, she's in love with, one of the young men who's a soldier and so on and so on. But
and even as adults at that time, people couldn't comprehend that was happening. Right. So as a child.
Oh my
gosh.
So eventually She, because of her father being prominent in the Nazi Party, she and her mother had to distance them. Well, they had to completely change their ID.
Ah.
And so she lived in Paris and London, and so finally she gets to Australia, and that's when the real tale begins.
Ah.
And it I don't want to say too much because I want people to read this and be startled.
Yes.
At the as
You've got me. This is not a genre I would typically read. Too much Anne Frank when I was a child. But you have got me wanting to read this book. And I noticed on the cover that it says that he's the one who wrote The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Which I also loved and read. This is I I can't say enough about this book.
Oh, good.
I mean,
good.
I'm really enjoying it, and I can't tell you the details because I want you to read it.
Yep.
And be startled. So
well, and just the way that you've said startled has piqued my interest.
Yes.
It's rare that a book startles you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And she it starts out as she's an older woman in her 90s living in London.
Or did you say Sydney?
No, Sydney.
Sydney, yeah.
But then she goes all over the place. She ends up in London. So she is in London at the beginning of this book. And I know, it's just, I when I picked it up, I didn't expect what it was about. But it's truly readable.
Ooh.
and you learn a lot. Things that I thought I knew mostly everything.
Yeah.
But not when, no, you don't.
You don't, yeah.
You don't.
Yeah. Especially from a totally different perspective.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, Carolyn, I'm so excited to read this book.
So, and it is truly all of broken places.
Oh.
That was such a, event, a modern time event that repercussions are still ongoing.
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
But this is very, very easy to read, hard to digest. But yes, and it's really well written, and of course, if you read the Boy in the Striped Pajamas, then you're kind of familiar with this. But I can't wait till the end. But anyway, I highly recommend it. This is really, really good.
Oh, good. Oh,
this is
good.
really good.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. And I thank Jane for urging me to be more comprehensive in my reviews. Just to do one book and do it thoroughly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Well, Jane is, she's the boss.
a pretty smart cookie too.
She's a very smart cookie. And my oldie but goodie.
Oh, I love this book too.
I know. Howard Frank Mosier. He's a Vermont writer, and this A Stranger in the Kingdom is so appropriate to what is going on today.
Right, even though it's quite an older book.
It is an older book, and actually it was one of the first ones that I had read by him when I first moved to northern
New England.
Northern New England. Yes, and this book is so good.
It's so good. And what's funny
levels.
is the reason I read that book is because of you. Because you told me to read it years and when I first started working at the library. You said, "Oh, you have to read this book. You have to read this book." And because you've never steered me wrong, I read it and loved it.
I know.
Oh,
I love this book because on so many levels, it's about race. It's about vigilantes. It's about prejudice and how it all shapes us and makes us either into very nice people or very, very miserable people. But hopefully this shows you that there's something wonderful about most people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're thinking about Northern Vermont, people, they make a lot of jokes.
They
about,
do.
They really do.
Cows, granola, all those things.
But these are real people.
Yes.
And
And what's so
this
funny is that
relevant.
it's so relevant still today,
Today,
because those
right.
themes that he
Yes.
explores in there are still today. It's still what we're
It's-
thinking about today.
And he has so many books that I picked this one because this is my favorite. But there's also Marie Blythe.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of characters
Yeah.
in his genre. So, and actually he gave a presentation in Brattleboro years ago, before he died, of course. and he said, he was asked, someone in the audience asked him, what was his favorite character, and he couldn't say which one was good. But I think Marie Blythe
was his
was
favorite.
Yeah, the way he talked about that book.
Yeah.
But this is a fascinating read. If you haven't read it already, if you have read it already, it's worth a second look.
Worth a second look.
Actually, I try to reread it, on a yearly basis, because it's just so well written and so new Vermont.
And I think, like a lot of times you recommend that book to people new to the area.
Yes.
But how interesting to read it again after you've been here for a while.
Yes.
Because you would have a totally different way of seeing some of the things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And this touches on so many themes about people being closed in and other people reaching out, and it's just
Yeah.
a great,
Good
great,
recommendation.
great book.
Yes.
I love Howard Frank.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess that will do it for this.
Fabulous, Carolyn. I'm so excited. No one will care if we just read the rest of the afternoon, right?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't bet on it because we do have tasks to do. But the enjoyment of sitting down with a good book in a comfortable chair.
Yes.
There's nothing like
better.
it. Nothing better. Nothing better.
Yeah.
So if you have the time, I know a lot of young mothers, fathers, they're busy with household things and career and so on and so on. And I know it is a luxury.
Yes.
To be able to sit in a corner and read a good book.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
I hope all of you can do that at some point. Take a few hours in a busy week and just to
lose yourself in a book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are so many good books.
There are, for sure. We have just a few at the library.
We
just
have
a few.
We have more than just.
I know. Did you see? Well, it's coming out tomorrow, so you haven't seen it. But I have seen the new book report because I do it. And nice big boxes came this week.
Oh,
that's all I'll say.
I know. Okay. I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yep.
And sometimes they come when I'm there, and I can get to open them
right away. I know. There's nothing better than opening a box chock full of new books. Oh, I love it.
Well, as you can tell, Julie and I are book people.
Book people, for
right.
sure. For sure.
Which another good the book maker, not the bookmaker, the book
woman
of some creek.
The book woman of Troublesome Creek.
Troublesome Creek.
Such a good book. Yeah.
Such a good book. And if you haven't read it,
we could just go on for hours. We better stop.
I know. I think we've taken up enough of your
time. But will we see you on Saturday?
Yes, because Saturday is Sneak Peek Saturday.
Maybe you can read a chapter from one of the new books. Or, I mean, the first page, excuse me. The first page. I want you to read the whole chapter, but you always stop.
Yes, I know.
Yes, you meanie.
Yes. So tune in for Sneak Peek Saturday.
Oh, thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Julie.